That was amazing. Wow. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Alfredo.
Thank you so much, Rick.
I've been following you forever. This is Michael, and this is
Michael Olivera, Beyli.
I've been following you forever on Instagram, and this is so fun to see you guys play live like this. So Alfredo posts things on his Instagram. Posts playing piano, your live concerts and everything that you do, but also you have different trios and sometimes duos and things, but you do these great arrangements of all types of songs. You did the wedding song. You've done, I
don't even remember how many songs we have already covered.
You guys have so many tunes, and every time that I watch one, I'm always like, okay, what are they going to do? This is actually cool because this is an extended version because you only pretty much have 1 minute.
It's true.
When you're doing these things, when you're coming up with them, how do you come up with them and know that you're within 1 minute?
To be honest, everything started at the sound checks. As you can see, we're very energetic. We need to lose that energy in some way. And we said, I remember calling Misha and saying, Misha, let's just do a video and let's just do something for fun. Come here to the piano. At the beginning, we were a little, like, should we do it like this or not? To be honest, we just went. And I remember the first video that we created together was a version of For Elise by Beethoven.
Yeah.
It blew up and it went viral on Facebook.
I remember that.
Had many millions of views. And then after that, we said, you know what? I think we found something here.
Yeah.
Let's just explore a little bit more of this, that we just created here. And it has been nonstop. And actually, now I can say that also it has helped us in many ways to shape the sound of the trio, to change my music in many ways, and to produce my music in a different way that I didn't know I could before these videos.
Now, Michael, you normally play drum kit when you guys play live, right?
Exactly.
You play full kit.
It's not this.
That's a good question.
when you make videos, you play whatever. Like a lot of times you have a floor tom and
I
then
try
other
to use
percussion.
always a floor tom and a cowell.
Yeah.
And after that, I choose anything special that I felt like comfortable in the moment. I try to explore new things, but a small thing. I like to keep the simpleness in the set.
Well, when I first saw you guys, play on Instagram, then I went and I looked to see how you guys play in a group and everything. So you play drum kit, and I just think it's so cool that you have these songs that you'll do. All different kinds of songs that you'll...
Well, I think I want to mention something. We come from Cuba. We come, Han is from Ukraine, Azerbaijan. But Michael and we come from Cuba. And talking to Han also, we have many similarities in our countries.
Yeah.
First of all, that we need to be very inventive. And we need to make music or do anything with our life the way that, people in Cuba wake up every day, Rick, thinking what they're going to eat that day. Yeah. So, we don't have, to be honest, we grew up in a way that, hey guys, let's be creative. If we don't have the piano, but what I have is something else, I would play it. So why not? I always say, like, we have to, as human beings, we have to try to adapt at least to different situations because nothing is for sure certain. Sometimes, we were talking about Los Angeles right now and what's happening in the world and all of that. And I think the most important is to keep being creative and that human side of us that is like improvisation. We are improvisers. We all are improvisers. And I think when it really comes out is when we have a situation like this. We were actually coming here not knowing what you were going to ask us to do. Right. We thought at the beginning, brutally honest, we thought that we were going to have like the drum set and the bass and all of that. And now we're here and we're so happy. We are like, okay, let's do it like this. This is what it is. Let's rearrange. Yeah. Let's rearrange what we already have. And things come sometimes in a good way when you are prepared, when you sometimes take dedication and sacrifice into something like this, music, the piano, your craft. I think that's important. We play jazz music and we like jazz music. So I think the least that we can do is like just really be improvisers and just be in a situation like this, able to play and to deliver.
Alfredo, you took classical piano lessons when you were a kid?
Yes, I started playing classical piano at 6 years old. My parents brought me to the Classical School of Music. I grew up in a very musical family because my dad is a very popular singer from Cuba. And then I remember going to the rehearsals and actually imitating the drums. I wanted to be a drummer at first, not a
Okay.
pianist. They brought me to the classical school of music, and I had to choose between piano or violin, because in Cuba that's the kind of like the rule. If you want to be a drummer, you have to start at 10 years old or something like that. So
Okay.
I said, I'm just gonna go with the piano, having in mind that I was gonna change at 10.
Yeah.
And when I was 10, I was already falling in love with the
Okay.
piano. I didn't want
Did
to
your
change.
parents make you practice?
At the beginning, I remember conversations like, obviously, as a parent, my parent telling me, do you really want to do this? And, if you want to do something in life, you have to put some effort and sacrifice and things like that. But I remember from a very early age falling in love with the instrument. But I also want to mention something. Even though I was falling in love with the instrument and playing the piano and doing all of that, I didn't miss any of my childhood. And I was just on the streets playing with my friends and doing things like that, that I think it was also important for me to grow as a child and just, I think everything in life should be a balance.
Michael, you took drum lessons when you were a kid, or how'd you start?
I know I actually want to be a sax player.
Okay.
But in the school they say no, you cannot study the sax because you have something in your teeth, and it was
We
like,
have so
okay.
many sax players already.
And they said to me, you have to choose between trombone or percussion, and it was like percussion.
Right.
So I studied classic percussion like 5 years in the elementary school, and the middle level I started studying drums. Beside the classic music too, the classic percussion.
In Cuba, we only have a classical school of music. We don't have any jazz cathedral or even like Cuban music. Everything that we play, it has been just listening to other musicians and in the streets, basically, because Cuban music, everyone is in the blood. Everyone is dancing, everyone is playing, everyone is
With your friends.
with your friends. That's the way that we learn. And when it comes to jazz, for me, first of all, I don't even like to categorize myself just as a jazz
I'm
musician,
going to ask you that.
a classical musician, a Cuban musician. For me, music is just music, and everything that sounds correct to my ears, I try to explore more, and that's it, to be honest. It's very simple. But what we studied at the school, it was only classical music. I had great teachers, classical piano teachers, and we had a very strong classical school of music in Cuba, a very good
Also
tradition.
really good, yeah.
And I think it's a good combination. I had, for example, the school with my dad too, because I started playing with my dad popular music from Cuba when I was 12, 13 years old. So I had, the classical school in the mornings, and then playing with my dad at night, even though I was kind of like a kid, and it was very different in schools, but I think for me it was really important to grow up like that.
And how old were you when you came to the States?
I came here with 21 years old.
Okay.
And the main reason it was because I got selected between 12 pianists in the world to play at one of the most prestigious jazz festivals, the Montreux Jazz Festival. And while I was there, I met Quincy Jones.
I was going to ask you about that. So tell me about that.
I remember, it's a very funny story. Claude Nobs was the founder, the president of the festival.
Yep.
And he had a chalet in the mountains, beautiful, in Switzerland. And he invited all the musicians usually at the festival just to jam and things like that. I remember they told us, hey, come to the house. George Benson is coming, Michel Legrand is coming, Quincy Jones is coming. And when we were there, they said, do you guys want to play? And everyone said, yeah, we want to play, of course. So I remember playing a couple of songs for Quincy. I didn't know how to speak in English at all. Well, I'm still trying, but at that time I didn't know any word.
I didn't say it.
So then I remember Quincy hugging me and saying something that a friend took in the video while Quincy, and he said something like, hey kid, you got it all. I want to help you in some way with your career.
Did you not understand what he said?
I didn't understand nothing. Like what it was. Quincy always used to laugh at this story.
Yeah.
But then his bodyguard, Glenn, is Latino.
Yeah.
So he was translated to me, and he said, no, Mr. Jones really wants to help you. How can we reach out to you? I gave them a piece of paper with my email in Cuba, the Cuban email. So I took it. I'm very terminal, earth, wise. And then I just took it like, there's going to be a beautiful story for me when I go back now to tell my parents and my friends and whatever. And then 1 month after that, my manager, after that, Adam Feld, which was Quincy's manager, then wrote an email saying, hey, no, Mr. Jones wants to. They thought I was a Cuban living in Miami, living in the States, living somewhere else. They didn't know it was gonna be so difficult because, first of all, at that time, the political relationship between Cuba and the States was completely broken.
Yeah.
And we tried 3 years, Rick. 3 years to do something. You know, I was in Cuba,
Yeah.
I stuck there, you know, what can we do? I remember, you know, we keep playing in Cuba. Well, we know since we were kids. So we've been playing together since forever. And then they said, if you make it to the States in some way, we're gonna help you. We're gonna sign you. We're gonna help you in some way. And that was the moment that it turned completely, you know, everything down, you know, like crazy for me. And I said, you know what, to my parents, if I had the opportunity, I think I should do this. I should go to this country and try to do something different. I don't want to miss this opportunity. And my dad had a show in Mexico,
Okay.
in Mérida, in Yucatan. And I remember, you know, this is the long story, very short, because, you know, very, very stressful and roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my dad and my mom, my girlfriend, everyone, hey, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I go to United States and I'm going to cross the border from Mexico to United States. So then I took a plane, not knowing that as a Cuban with a Cuban passport, they stopped me at the Mexican city closest to the border. I could be deported back to Cuba. And that was what I did because I didn't have any guidance. So I took the plane and I landed in Nuevo Laredo, Mexico.
Okay.
The closest city, like 20 minutes a cab from the airport to the border. And the first thing that the officials see is like my Cuban passport. And he said, hey, kid, are you crazy? You know, come here. And they put me in a detention center. Like they arrested me there. It's a long story. I basically what I told them, it was, I want to make it to the States at the end, because at the beginning I said, no, I'm here to see some friends and
Quincy
things like
Jones.
that. Yeah, Quincy
I'm
was
here to see
waiting for
Quincy
me at the
Jones.
border. No, they said, no, you're going back to Cuba. I was like, I freaked out, you know, a little kid and also no experience at all. It was very difficult and very stressful, I remember. Actually, I composed a song right when I crossed the border. I composed a song. It's called "Crossing the Border" in my first album. And then I remember I said, you know what? I'm just gonna be honest with them, you know, because what I'm gonna lose?
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I'm here to cross the border. I'm Cuban, but I had an offer from a big producer in the United States, Quincy Jones. They didn't know who Quincy Jones was, and he said that if I make it to the States, he's gonna help me with my career and whatever. Rick, they went like for 3 or 4 hours, and they came with, one of the guys came with my passport, and he said, kid, hurry up, I'm gonna let you go, and there is a taxi outside that I just called for you to go to the border.
Unbelievable.
I was crying, you know, I went into this taxi freaking out, you know, so excited, but also confused. I didn't know what was gonna happen with my life. And obviously, you know, I got to the border, and I remember the face of this old abuelita. And I said to her, how can I cross the border? And she said, oh, this is crazy, because I even get emotional when I think about this, because she took me by the hand and she said, come with me. And she crossed the border with me.
Wow.
She crossed the border with me. She put me there in the American side. And then I asked for political asylum. And I was there for, you know, like the whole night, sleeping basically the floor and everything. And the next day they called me, hey, Alfredo Rodriguez. And I went there. I went through the process. And as a Cuban at that time, they could, you know, help me to come into the country. I remember the first thing that I did when they gave me a parole, a piece of paper with a parole, my photo. And I went to the payphone and I called Adam and I said, hey, I made it to the States. What can I do now? They were crazy, you know, they were, wow, this kid made it, bro. Now we need to take care of this guy. So then I called them and they said, go to the airport and we have a flight for you already. This is the number. They gave me the record locator, whatever. I went to the airport and I flew from Laredo, Texas.
Yep.
I remember I made in a stop, or Houston or Dallas. I don't remember, because to be honest, since I crossed the border, the only thing that I remember until I was in the plane from Houston or Dallas to Los Angeles, I don't remember anything else. I was in that process of
Shock.
trying to say to myself, wow, I made it. Wow, I'm in the United States. I cannot go back anymore to Cuba. Cannot see my family anymore. I was shocked.
Yeah.
And then I remember a picture. I've told Misha this, I think. I remember a picture that I never forget when I was in the plane landing in Los Angeles, looking through the window and saying to myself, you made it to the States. Now you need to make it happen. Now is your moment. You need to work and be disciplined and fight for your dreams and make it happen for your family to be proud, because I left physically everyone behind. I always say physically because spiritually we always have been very close. But physically I couldn't see them for a very long time. And I made it to the States, and basically the next day I was at Quincy's home playing for Quincy Jones. And long story short, one of the last shows, we always laugh because one of the last shows that we did was in La Zorra del Cuervo, a very small club in Havana. And I remember one of those days, there was only one person, Rick, checking us out. One person from Canada.
Yeah.
And we have
I remember.
You remember?
Oh, man.
So this guy came from Canada, from Montreal. He saw our show and he came to us and he said, hey, kid, one day I'm going to see you at the Montreal Jazz Festival in Canada. Long story short, I saw that guy came to my first show at the Montreal Jazz Festival
Unbelievable.
with the photo. And he said, check this out. I am this guy, and I told you I was going to see you at the Montreal Jazz Festival. And long story short, after that gig, I went to the States. I had to wait for 3 months in order to get my papers.
Yeah.
And the first show that I did was at the Playboy Jazz Festival at the Hollywood Bowl in front of 15,000 people.
Unbelievable. And how did you get here then?
I live in Madrid, Spain.
Yeah,
Okay.
Misha lives in Madrid now. He stayed in Cuba. He was, I said to Misha, hey, I'm in the United States. I made it. And Misha, then he defected from Cuba to Madrid, to Spain.
I'm living there for 13 years now.
Yeah, now 13 years. So he came like 2 or 3 years after I defected.
Yeah.
And right away, I said to Misha,
We start playing.
if you are available, I have a tour in Europe. Let's do it. And since then, we reunited again and we've been playing together.
That is amazing. Okay, so Han, what about you?
With Han.
How did you get here?
I
know you guys came, but Uber.
That's right.
Yeah.
I got here in 2015 to Berkeley to study at Berkeley. It was during the revolution in Ukraine, and it's also long story short. When I got to Berkeley, the year before when I got to Berkeley, it was I applied for, I don't know, Victor Wooten camp. You know,
Yeah,
Victor.
I know Victor very well.
Yeah, and they were really trying to help me to get out of Ukraine, and it didn't work. I didn't get the visa, and then when the revolution started, I applied for schools here, and Berkeley got me in. And when I got to Berkeley, second day, I'm seeing Victor sitting in the room and waiting for the placement test. I was doing a placement test, but we met.
Yeah, we met in Miami because Han lives in Miami now, also with his family, by the way. And then Misha also. We were talking about
that, yeah.
We were talking about that yesterday because we were rehearsing for the show that we have tomorrow. And then Misha was telling me, hey, there is this guy from Azerbaijan in Miami.
I saw a few videos of him. It's very good.
You should call him. He's very multicultural and he plays all types of music. And we always looking for collaborations like cross-cultural, like transculturation and things like that with our project. I love that when we incorporate other cultures into who we are. And then I checked the video and I loved it, and I called Han, hey Han, I'm here in Miami, someday we should play together. We prepared some shows and whatever. And then the same day that I called Han, Misha sees Hans at the airport in Madrid. Crazy. The same day that Misha tells me, check this guy.
I talked with Alfredo about you.
Crazy.
And we was like, man, we are in the right way, The signals are,
So
there.
then, we play together. And as you mentioned, I have many projects through the years that I have incorporated into. Always my band has been the main focus of my career, but then I have a project with an amazing percussionist from Cuba and singer, dancer Pedrito Martinez. And I also have another project with a bass player from Cameroon, Richard Bona, singer, and many other things that we have done. But basically the trio always has been there with us, and yeah.
How do you come up with these arrangements that you do when you're just playing these fun songs that you post on Instagram?
Some of them.
I mean, I've seen one where you're pushing a piano around and stuff, and just doing all these, following
Because
it
we're
around
crazy.
and playing.
We are crazy.
Because we're crazy and we like to have fun and we like to express our personality through our music. I think that's what music should be for. It's like to find who you are as a person and try to translate that with musical sounds. And we are very like that. You know, we always.
I think that
said,
always Alfredo always came and he put in the piano. And I like to wait.
With ideas.
What he's gonna play, and because we choose a song, oh, let's try this, okay, and he start playing something because he's gonna find something, and in that moment we start to, he started to build the little thing, and at the end I bring the but he created like that in the piano with the bass player, and yeah.
I think at the beginning it was more, as I said, we were like, okay, let's do something that the three of us are with the camera and everyone can see us, something simple that we can repeat.
Yeah.
We did it. It blows up and it went viral. And then we said, you know what, let's just keep doing things like this. And now we have, many songs that we have created through social media.
I was wondering if you actually remember some of the. I mean, you have a couple.
Thriller has been one of them as we play, and I remember some of them. We know some of them. Han doesn't know some of them, to be honest, but we have the full release, and many.
Well, why don't you guys play something else?
El Paraliza. Un pedacito cortico de virus.
No, we can. Yeah. So we go like this, and to be honest, Misha knows. We have the idea, I bring a song.
What would make you think of doing that?
I don't know. We just change it to, Cuban rhythms like cha-cha-cha. And exactly, we just like to rearrange the music with sounds that we grew up listening to. And both of us, we are from Cuba. Sometimes the musicians also, obviously, now he brings his Azerbaijan to us. And Munir Hosson on bass from Brazil, also, or Jarel Hernandez, or Richard Bona, or many of the bass players that play with us, Panayotis from Greece. Now I'm mentioning all of these guys, and everyone is from a different country
That's true.
that we play with. So then I think it's a beautiful thing also because they also bring their culture to the arrangements. But since we are from Cuba, we both are from Cuba, almost
We try to put
kind of like the roots are usually staying with the arrangements, has like Cuban sound.
Okay, so who are your piano influences that you, as far as your jazz piano people? that you
Piano
like?
influences, I will say Keith Jarrett. I will have to mention Keith. Why? Because I was playing only classical music until I was 12, 13 years old. And then this is a random story, but my uncle was moving from one apartment to the other one. And then the only thing that they left in the new apartment was the original concert by Keith Jarrett.
Okay.
In Cuba, Misha can tell you, we don't have music stores, we don't have internet, we don't have anywhere to find an original album. Imagine the concert by Keith Jarrett. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The only thing they left in the house. My uncle took it and he went to my house and he said, Alfredito, I know you play the piano. This is an album that they left there at the house.
Of all the albums to
of
leave.
all the albums.
Yeah.
And also, I want to mention something. It was incredible for me. Why? Because Keith has also the classical background.
That's right.
That was a piano solo. It was not like one of the, maybe a little more avant-garde Keith Jarrett, or maybe the trio. Maybe that would have been a little bit far away from me. But the concert has also that pop going on and classical piano and that lyricism that I think I got connected since the beginning. I was like, wow, this music is so amazing. I need to do something like this. I didn't know anything about the story. I didn't know anything about who Keith Jarrett was. Obviously, I found out later that the album was completely improvised. But what I felt, I wouldn't forget. You know, I felt something, wow, I want to do something like this. And I remember, obviously, coming home and I couldn't play one note. I was playing Mozart, I was playing Rachmaninoff, Chopin, all of these difficult pieces, and I didn't know how to play the piano. When it came to improvising, when it came to being Alfredo Rodriguez. And since that moment, I said, I'm gonna change this.
Did you start figuring things out from that?
Exactly. One note to the other one. I was like, first of all, listening.
Yeah.
I remember that I learned the whole concert by ear, you know. So all the time, and this one, all the songs, I remember listening to them and, wow, I want to just play like this. And at the beginning, it was kind of like the repetition, but it started to come through the years. Later after that, I wanted to, you know, like find music that was related to what I was listening to. And I got recordings by Thelonious Monk or Bill Evans, Lenny Tristano, Bud Powell, all of the great jazz pianists from the States. And that was it. You know, I have been I've been in love with that type of music since 12 years old.
Okay, so how did you get jazz records back then? Would you just
Through friends.
Through friends,
Through friends
did
that
they
they
be
were
tapes or
cassettes,
anything?
Cassettes, tapes, and also later I remember friends who went out of Cuba perform with you know, like
and they
someone,
bring.
and they ask for if they come here, for example, they will say, "Hey Rick, can I have this hard drive full of music or something? Do you have something, charts, anything?" And I remember we all the musicians at the school share everything we had. It was like, oh yeah, I have this album, I have this book, I have this, and everyone was like with printed papers, reading all the charts, reading transcriptions, reading like that, and also listening to MP3 and music that they brought from musicians. So we had information, but it was only through that type of process.
I wonder if it was easier now, because when I was a kid, you know, we didn't have money I would buy records and things like that, but you can buy, it's not like today where you can open up Spotify or whatever,
exactly.
or when MP3s were out. And we would share things with cassettes, the same kind of thing. I wonder though, if because of MP3s and being able to share them, you can share vast amounts of them back when you were a kid, that if that was...
Yeah, that was the case.
That was the case.
They brought like
then.
USBs or a hard drive full
thousands
of
of
many
songs.
albums and many songs, and then we all shared the same. And everyone was like with the Discman, you know, like with that, listening to the albums and things like that too.
Okay, so why don't you guys play something else? I love this. This is great. A
Yeah,
private
sure.
concert.
Yeah. What should we play?
What do you know? What do you know with them?
You know everything.
Whatever the,
You know everything.
Follow us.
I'm on my name, I'm on my name. Todos los negros tomamos café. I'm on my name, I'm on my name. Todos los negros tomamos café. I'm on my name, I'm on my name. Todos los negros tomamos café. I'm on my name, I'm on my name. Todos los negros tomamos café.
Candela.
Do you think that people that don't necessarily relate to jazz music will relate to it when it has a groove, more if it has more Latin influence or it's more straight eighth oriented as opposed to swing music?
Oh, that's a tough question. It's like everyone has a different taste. I'm sure maybe some people will relate more in the Latin world, but I've seen situations also that it's difficult for other people in other different countries to relate to Latin music as well, because maybe it's something that it is far away from their knowledge. I think that's something that also we try to kind of in a way like break those boundaries or
Those
borders.
barriers. Yeah.
Because in our show, in our music, we try to incorporate, as I was mentioning before, many other things that are not only Cuban music. So the show and the ideas behind my show is always like to incorporate different cultures and bring people together, not like separate them. And that's why also I like to, welcome everyone with my music and to play. And also we are some places, yesterday we were talking about this with Han, because Han, coming from a different country, sometimes he's like, should I do this? I'm not like a Cuban, I'm not like a timbero, I'm not like a rumbero. And we say, we are not. We are not. And Han is, how are you going to tell me that you are not and you don't feel like that? If you are from Cuba and you are representing your culture in that way, we don't think like that. I don't think things like that when I'm playing the piano. I'm only having fun, having a good time, and hopefully people get their energy and they have fun with us, and something maybe change in their day, in their life, and they laugh, they cry with us, and that's the most important.
So I was playing some of your music last night at dinner with my kids, and my 11-year-old Layla, she's like, "Does that smells like Teen Spirit?" That is, right? And I was like, "Yeah." And
Yeah.
and
We did that one very recently, I think.
yeah,
Which one?
The Nirvana.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did it very
That was a good one, yeah, actually. The arrangement was
We
crazy.
we just did it in
Half an hour.
did it like-
November or...
yeah. It was
That's
pretty
why we
recently.
don't remember.
Yeah,
Because sometimes people think that we play these songs all the time. It's impossible. We have many arrangements. We really go to the sound check not knowing. We play the song, we post it. Like in 30 minutes, we do the arrangement. In 30 minutes, we post it, and that's it. We leave it there. Sometimes they become songs for the show. And then those ones are the one that we know a little more, and we play more. But there are millions of songs of those that we have played that we don't remember.
here I'm going to play the Nirvana version. It'd be cool if you guys kind of talked a little bit about these different types of Latin grooves. I mean, I see you play with different combinations of percussion instruments like this. Like, how do you decide what to do? And
That's a good question, because I'm improvising every time.
yeah,
I'm not doing like a pattern that I have. And so the cover did this. No. I really do the bass like this in the first, maybe in the second. So every time I change. So it's a little bit like difficult for me explain to the people, because I try to recreate what I know about cha-cha-cha, or about cumbia, or about song or timba, but I know that I'm not playing the rhythm like the people that really know the rhythm they play. So
The traditional way.
I really improvise. Sorry to
but you're playing this like a drum set, really. And
I try to have like a bass drums,
Bass
like
drum.
a snare,
Yeah.
or here also a timbal, and here the cowbell, and I incorporate like the cymbal in the last few videos that we made in the Instagram, but I never used it before, and the hi-hat. I always have this set and try to recreate the drum set here, like the groove things, colors here.
It's really cool when you use the side of the drum as the snare and things like
It's a
that. I think
snare.
it's
Sounds amazing.
yeah, it does. It really
And this
is.
song also, this drum set is good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You have a good
It's really
sets here.
When you're traveling, what are you using 13-inch hi-hats there?
Yeah,
When you're traveling, what do you carry with you? What do you guys carry when you guys are out?
Just Misha, the cymbals,
Yeah.
and hand the bass.
That's it, right? That's all
That's
you
it.
need. You guys
That's-
travel light.
The cymbal and the bass.
Tell me what your tour has been like. What kind of gigs have you been doing over the last year?
I mean, we play everywhere in the world. We are non-stop traveling. Last year we did more than 100 shows. This year too. The year before as well.
I mean, I've seen you all over the place, all over the world.
Yeah, we go everywhere.
Who books all your tours?
We have many people working
You have agents in
different
Europe and
territories.
stuff?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have agents in the States and also agents that work in Europe and also Asia, Latin America, and many. And we also have a management team, obviously, since I came to the States with Quincy Jones Productions, and now we have a new offer. It's called Early Hour. So, we manage, and I am also signed by McAvenue Records. It's a record label based in Los Angeles. So I have a really good team behind. But I was talking to Han about this also on the plane coming here, and is that I also feel there are many musicians or people in general that are also waiting for other people to change their lives in so many ways. And as I was mentioning before, I come from a country that we need to be inventive. And I was telling him that there was a moment, he said to me, how did you, discover that moment where you were yourself on social media and your brand and all of that? And I told him, first of all, the most important thing is trying. If you don't try, nothing is going to happen. And second, also, you have to be able to work. You have to put some work into anything that you do in life. Be constant. And if music is what you like to do, what is best for you than to share music with people and see if they connect with you. You have insights today on social media that you can see how they can resonate with this or that, and then you compare. You have to do an analysis of your business, and that's something important also for us as musicians. I come from Cuba, and it's a very isolated country, and I didn't grow with all of this business situation, and we didn't know anything about that. We were playing music because the love of music, but once you also come to the world and start discovering that this is, also a business, you need to adapt, and you need to try to find ways that not losing your essence, your personality, but also adapting to the tools that life gives you. And right now we have social media. Right now we have many ways that you can expose it. You can be creative. You can put music out, and if people like it and they resonate with you, success. If that is success for you, is gonna come. Also, success is a very tricky word because it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But if you look for reaching out to people, if you look for maybe a record label, if you look for playing the world, I think, we as a musician, as an artist, we have a really good tool in our hands today that we need to use it.
Do you find that other musicians of your age and things like that don't understand about how to promote their music, and they ask you these things? Do people say, how do you do this?
Sometimes they ask me, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in our world, there are not many people that, in my opinion, they use it in the right way.
Yeah.
I always find the people say you are so lucky because you have a very good social media.
Right.
And I say, man, you have to work and try, and maybe you find your way, It's it's not lucky, it's.
There are many people that helps you. For example, how we communicated, it was through Instagram.
That's right.
Right here we have the best example that we were talking in the plane. This is the best example. You found out who we were because social media.
That's right.
And I found out who you were because social media, YouTube, looking at your videos.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why my friends don't see it?
Yeah.
Why it's so easy? It's very easy. It's like we are there, we connect, and then these type of things, to be honest with you, is very difficult to obtain for a musician who doesn't put music out because
although it's free to do it. That's the thing.
Exactly.
These social media platforms,
Yes.
you have instant access to as many people as your videos are good, or whatever, however
And
you would say that.
I also think that we need to take advantage of what life gives us. And right now, at least we're having this advantage, which it is that you can share, people can connect, and we can have moments like this.
Yeah.
Like we are here right now because of social media.
Yeah.
So to all of my friends that they don't believe in social media, yes, you can make it. You can make it, and you can be with someone like Rick, and you can be a tiny desk, and you can be in places like that we
right.
were only because our videos.
That's right.
Some people think no, it's because the management, no, it's because
And
it's
te-
this.
and tell them how-
Yes, it's like a mix of many things. But to be honest, let's just be brutally honest. The growth of the artist has to come also from the artist, from your creative, artistic decisions, and also being creating music constantly. Because if not, people are not gonna know who you are.
Tell them how easy it is that you just set your phone up and like you just have a phone. That's how you record your videos.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean,
That's what I thought.
some
but
people
that's-
think we have big productions and things like that. We don't.
Right.
I only have my cell phone. We put it, sometimes we tape it into one of these stand. We put it there. That's it. That's the
No
end
mics,
of production.
nothing.
No
Right.
mics, nothing. It's just my cell phone. My cell phone is my microphone. My cell phone is my camera. And my cell phone is the way that I can reach out to people also and market my business. And it has been growing up so much since I've been doing these videos. The only thing that you really need to do is be creative and
right.
also put some effort into your craft and your science
Absolutely.
behind. But everything else, the tools, now we are living in a different moment. Now everyone is on TikTok. So it's like, so you know what I'm saying? You if you want to be successful, it's there.
Are your families back in Cuba still?
Misha's
My
family is
parents,
back
yeah.
in Cuba, and I have some family too. My grandparents are in Cuba.
do you keep in touch with them?
I already came from Cuba yesterday.
Okay.
I was visiting my family there, my parents, yeah. They're having a hard time, yeah.
Sorry to
Difficult,
hear
yeah.
Yeah, Cuba is a very beautiful country in many ways, but unfortunately we have been ruled by dictators for so many years, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult when you are in a situation that everyone forces you to think in one way or the other one, and also you don't have freedom for many things. It's whoever they choose is the right one and things like that that we didn't like and we don't agree, and so we speak out. At least I do, and I don't like. What's happening surround many decisions in my country. Again, I defend my country no matter what. I'm Cuban, my blood. Everywhere that we go, we have the Cuban flag with us. But there are other many things that I don't agree, and that's why also it has been very difficult for me. But I haven't played in Cuba in more than 15 years, which is very, difficult for me, difficult decision. But I want to stay this way. I prefer just to wait until until the right moment, and the right moment hasn't come, unfortunately. So we keep waiting.
Why don't you guys play one more song?
Yeah, of course.
Antena.
Is that good?
That's amazing. Perfect. Guys,
Good timing.
We have it.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For having me.
It's amazing to hear it in real life.
Great honor.
Beautiful energy.
You know,
Thanks,
I
Rick.
mean,
Thank you so much.
I can't. Looks like so much fun when you guys are playing.